From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something that you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Friday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready, Clark Ford Studio. This morning, at least for myself, Neal's still in Nashville following Ole Miss's 62-57 loss to Alabama last night, ending their stay at Bridgestone Arena after one game. Now they await Sunday, Selection Sunday coming for Ole Miss. We'll obviously delve into that a good bit today. We'll talk about last night's. Kermit Davis called it Tale of Two Halves, which would be bad for a sports writer, but pretty apt for a coach describing the game. As Ole Miss had a big lead, it slipped away within the first 7 minutes of the second half, then they fall 62-57. We'll also discuss some baseball as Ole Miss and Alabama get started in SEC play tonight at 6:30 from Swayze Field. We'll have coverage from that. It continues at 1:30 on Saturday, 1:30 on Sunday as well. And today on the message board, or on the site, rebelgrove.com, I'll look at Ole Miss's first inning issues, so we'll tease that a little bit. We'll hit some high points there as well on this show that's brought to you every single day by the Oxford Exxon, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Go by, get the lunch special. It's a little chill in the air today. We had great temperatures yesterday, a little cooler this morning. Brunswick Stew, your lunch special, $4.99, 2 sides bread, 32-ounce drink. Pick up some ribs tonight, maybe on the way home from work if you're going to set up ESPN and watch the Rebels if you're not headed to the game. Or go to the game and get one of those stadium cups because you can refill it every single time at any Blue Sky location for 49 cents. And then again, coming to you from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are Clark Ford's in Amory, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call the number. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what new Ford you are looking for, and he'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's really that simple. If you're in the market for an automobile, any automobile, you kind of owe it to yourself, really, to call Clark Ford and get a quote, at least get a baseline as you move forward in your search. And we think you'll end up coming back to Clark Ford. And when you do, you'll get great service after the sale. Corey wants to be your car guy. He wants to be your truck guy. And he'll prove that to you. He's proved it to me. He'll prove it to you. 662-257-1900. Tell him you heard about Clark Ford on the podcast, and you'll save an additional $500 on your already great deal.
So we'll get into the minutia of the actual game in a second. I'm interested in this because it was the talk of after last night. Kermit Davis says he feels completely secure in Ole Miss's situation for the NCAA tournament. Most people agree. I see Joe Lunardi this morning dropped Ole Miss just from an 8 to a 9. Probably means they might fall to a 10 in his bracket by the time Sunday gets here with different teams playing their way up and bid Steelers and all that crap. Jerry Palm, as of this moment has not updated. However, net this morning for Ole Miss is 36. And this is where I'm going with this. It's great for Ole Miss. Don't take this as a complaint or anything really negative. I'm just fascinated that there's this big of a change in metrics from one year to the next, and how the system, in Ole Miss's case at least, that if this is the right way to do it and this is the better way to do it, how broken of a system we've had for years or decades or whatever, because Ole Miss is 36 in the net and apparently firmly in the NCAA tournament. If it's a year ago, they are firmly out and have no shot. Their RPI this morning, 62.
Yeah. I saw Andy Kennedy last night, visited with him for a few minutes, not about Ole Miss basketball. That question has crossed my mind a number of times in the last few weeks. I've thought, now look, I don't want to engage. It's my anniversary today. I'm not going to spend all day arguing with people on a message board. So let me tell you up front, I understand that you cannot do this in a vacuum. I understand that it would require the rest of the league to be good and all of those things, and that might impact the number of wins that you would get. Did I do that clearly enough, Chase, where I'm not looking like I'm doing an Andy Kennedy apology tour?
Sure.
Okay. If you don't change anything but the numbers, the wins and the losses, given this new system, you have to wonder if he's wondered how many times he would have made it. And again, did it on the front end, I'll do it on the back end. I realize you cannot do that in a vacuum. I'm not trying to.
It feels like Ole Miss has a great net. They also kind of hit that magic number of 20 and 10. And I mean, I don't even know why we're starting the podcast here. I don't know why I'm even necessarily in this line of thought or questioning. I guess I was just sitting there last night, and I was in a couple group texts with some buddies, and they were kind of bemoaning the loss and all this stuff. And in my head, I wasn't really trying to play devil's advocate. I was just sort of talking. And I thought, okay, 20 and 10 is the number we keep coming back to. And it's a very relevant number. No SEC team has ever been left out with 20 overall wins and 10 SEC wins. We've only had this length of SEC schedule for, 5-6 years? Something like that?
Something like that.
So I kind of thought we still are in a fairly small sample size here. And again, I think Ole Miss is in the tournament. The Lenardi and those guys, they talk to committee members. I'm more just thinking on the overall. It's interesting, and to me, how this is a deal where the net is supposed to be only doing quadrants. A lot of other metrics kind of are, not just Ole Miss, to a lot of bubble teams are very, very poor. That's sort of being overlooked. Doesn't appear that it's going to matter. And we've put every one of our kind of eggs in projections into this one brand new thing that, just by judging from the outside, is a glorious thing for high majors because of the way it factors in so many different elements, where if you're pretty good on both sides of the floor, you're going to have a pretty solid net at the end of the year.
Yeah. And here's the other thing Ole Miss has going for it that some of the other teams on the bubble don't have this on their resume. Ole Miss has one questionable loss at South Carolina, and I don't know what the hell their net is. It might become a quad one loss because I don't know where they are in the net right now.
I've got their RPI up and they're 94.
Okay.
I don't have
their net
up.
The net is what would matter. That's okay. I mean, but that's the deal. They don't have any bad losses
81,
at all.
81.
So it's almost a tier one loss. Where's Missouri in the net after losing to Auburn yesterday?
77.
So that was almost a tier one win. They just don't have a bad loss. That's the deal. Their resume it's good. It's not great. They're on the bubble. Bubble teams don't ever have great resumes. It's good, solid. There's nothing ugly on it. There's no giant boil on the face.
4 and 10 against quad 1, 3 and 2 against quad 2, 7 and 0 against quad 3, 6 and 0 against quad 4.
Yeah. I think they're going to end up a 10 seed. For the record, again, the difference between an 8 and a 9 is the color of jersey that you wear in the first round. Right now, according to everything that we looked up last night, we being me and fellow beat writers, we're all cheering for 10s because 10 is drivable. If you wonder why writers look like they're cheering for something, it's because you can drive to the 10s. You can't drive to the 9s. Looks like the 9s are predominantly San Jose, Hartford,
Louisville,
that kind of thing. Is it in Louisville this year?
Oh, no, that's the regional. Sorry, not the first round stuff. Yeah,
I was going to say that threw me off. Anyway, Salt Lake City.
Ole Miss's average loss in the net is 38. That's it. 38.
Yeah, that's their deal. That's their deal. There's no question in my mind they're in. Absolutely zero, none. So all that being said, from a big picture standpoint, look, it's never good to lose a game. It's never anybody that does that, they're kidding themselves. However, if you want to make the argument that last night was a little bit of a wake-up call for a team that did not handle the adulation of the week well. If you want to tell me that it might not be the greatest idea in the world tonight to have Bruce Stevens banging around with Kentucky on that gimpy ankle, I'd buy it. If you told me that this team just needs to get fresh, be hungry, humbled a little, going into the tournament, I'd buy it. It's spinach. We're much better off beating Alabama last night, finishing the job, beating Alabama, and then take your best shot against Kentucky tonight, lose a 5-point game, and get into the locker room and go, guys, we can play with anybody. I think that's more confidence. And it's just one more day and they're kids. And so, again, it's spinny, and I acknowledge that. But if you're in the tournament, the beauty of that Missouri win is that had they lost to Missouri, they would have had to play a dialed-in Florida team yesterday. And if they had lost, and I suspect they would have, if they had lost, this would be tense right now. But they didn't. They beat Missouri. They got the 20th win. They got the 10th SEC win. They're okay. They're going to go to the tournament. And like I posted this morning, here's big picture. This gnashing of teeth, and I get it. It's fun to be in the tournament, and you want to go as far as you can. But you have to understand that this team making the tournament is putting on the slipper. This team is 6.5 players, including 2 freshmen and including a big who's just now sort of learning how to defend. This team has never played a single tournament game as a group, as any of them, ever. There's no one out there, except for people who pick Ole Miss to make the tournament every year. There's no one out there who picked this team to go to the tournament. This team in the tournament, regardless of how it got there, puts the slipper on minute 1. This is not a Sweet 16 caliber team. Now, it doesn't mean they catch lightning in a bottle in Des Moines, Iowa for 3 days and make it. But understand, whether they're a 9 or a 10 or an 8 or a 7 or an 11 or a 6, this team's going to have to play 2 really good games. One really good game and one super elite game back to back, and finish a game, probably finish 2 games back to back. And there's nothing that they've done in the last few weeks that indicates they're ready to do that. They're entertaining. They're going to play hard. But they're going to do all of the same stupid stuff in the tournament that they've done most of the season. There's a reason, yes, they're a bucket here and a bucket there and a bucket here and a bucket there from being 23, 24, and 8. But they're not that record. And they're not that record for a reason. It's the one thing I always go back to on Andy Kennedy, and you know exactly where I'm going here. He said this, and it applies to every sports team ever. At the end of the season, and Ole Miss has now played 32 games. At the end of the season, you are what the numbers say you are.
You are. Also, just kind of looking at this real quick, we were always focused forever on top 100. They even ended up with some sneaky top 100s there at the bottom. The SEC ended up with only 2 teams outside the top 100 in net. They ended up with Georgia at 115 and then Vanderbilt, that abomination, at 154. But that's not as bad as some previous years when they've had other abominations that have been lower than that. And then they actually ended up with a top 100 out of San Diego. They finished at 99 for that home game. It's quadrant 2, but still ended up a top 100 game. As I'm kind of looking at it. The 2 bombs to their schedule that won't matter, but I still, again, find kind of interesting, is Middle Tennessee fell off a cliff this year. Is, again, Kermit picked a nice time to get out. 246 in the net for Middle Tennessee. And then Illinois State, who was picked to kind of really contend there in that conference. I don't know how they finished up, but their net is 200.
Yeah.
So just a little look there. That ended up a quad 3 game.
But so let's dive into the game a little, because I know we're going to talk about numbers and stuff. Here's the thing about this team that if I'm Kermit Davis, this is maddening to me.
So 13-point lead at the half. They were up as high as 16 there at one point early in the second.
They were up 14 at the half, and Blake Henson hit a jumper to open the second half.
Okay, so 16.
They were up 16 points.
The lead was gone at like 14:04.
Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead, though, to the end, because this is to me, when people do the Sweet 16 talk, this is why I don't particularly go there. They have a 57-55 lead after Devontae Shuler makes one of two free throws with 3:21 left in the game. I don't know if you recognize the number 57.
Yeah.
Ole Miss did not score a point in the final 3:21. For all of the numbers, 50-30 on the glass, 36-20 in the paint, 23-2 on second chance points, 29-12 on bench points. For all of those numbers, this team is up 2 with 3:21 left. That's the damnedest part of it. Everyone gets hung up on the other stuff, and the other stuff is perfectly legitimate to get hung up on. But in those last 3:21, I'm not going to bore you with the minutia of play-by-play, but Kyra Lewis misses a three. Ole Miss gets a ball back, gets an isolation. They were trying to get an isolation. Breein Tyree on Riley Norris, who's a three-point specialist for Alabama, who's not a particularly athletic kid, not a great defender at all. So Ole Miss gets the ISO matchup that it wants. And what they want is they want Breein Tyree to drive to the basket, to create something, because he's going to beat Riley Norris off the dribble 100 times out of 100. Instead, Breein takes a long three. Misses it, of course. The game basically stays the same. They get another setup with 1:50 to go. Ole Miss still up 2. Breein Tyree on Riley Norris, and he takes a mid-range jumper. Instead of driving to the basket, create an open three for Shuler or Henson or somebody, he drives and takes a mid-range jumper, misses it. And then Alabama on the other end with 1:34 to go, they score on a layup. The C's opened. Kyra Lewis gets a layup. So game tied at 57 with 1:34 to go. Ole Miss's next possession, they called a timeout because Kermit was furious about the layup. Terrence Davis beats his man on the dribble, drives, and instead of taking a shot that was open for him or getting to the basket like he did against Missouri, forcing contact, forcing a whistle, he tries to make a cross-court pass that gets intercepted, turnover. And then Alabama gets the play of the game. Lewis missed a layup. Petty gets the rebound with that violent dunk with a minute left to give Alabama the lead. Then Stevens misses a jumper. KJ Buffin got a rebound, missed a layup, missed a bunny right there at the basket with 44 seconds left. Ole Miss fouled. And then, Galen Smith made one. And then Ole Miss with 27 seconds left with a chance to tie it. Devontae Shuler takes an ill-advised three. Because I was sitting next to, I'll tell you who I was sitting next to was Wes Flanagan, who was like, as Shuler had the ball, he's like, take it to the rim. And he didn't. He takes a kind of an ill-advised three. Then Alabama gets the rebound, and Dazon Ingram makes a couple of free throws to end it.
They didn't really take anything to the rim the entire game. There was nothing inside.
Yeah, it's why, and hey, kudos to the Ole Miss fans. I didn't see a whole lot of official bitching. Ole Miss shot 4 free throws. But this was happening in the first half, too. The difference was they were making the shots. This was happening in the first half. There were warning signs in the first half, even up 14.
Yeah, jump shooters.
And, if you live by the three-point line, you will die by the three-point line at some point. I mean, Alabama was 5 of 17 from 3. They didn't light it up. Ole Miss was 7 of 26 from the three-point line. If Ole Miss is going to take 26 threes, it needs to make about 10 of them. And had they made 10 of them last night, they would have won the game. But when you only go to the free throw line 4 times, and the officiating was pretty fair, I actually thought they had a really good game. I thought they called a good game. But Alabama was physical. 50 rebounds, 17 offensive rebounds, a lot of fouls for Alabama. Ole Miss fouled on a lot of those offensive rebounds. So Alabama goes to the free throw line. They went to the free throw line 18 times. They only shot 50%. if they shoot 13, 14 for 18, it's not even a close game. So there's a lot there. It's a bad matchup apparently. Ole Miss has got to get into the market and recruit bigs. They like. I talked to Kermit Davis the other day about Carlos Curry. They like him. They're very pleased with his progress. They're very pleased with the progress that Rodney Howard has made. I think 6-7 months ago there was talk about maybe putting him at a prep school. That talk has gone away. We're probably going to talk about LSU a little bit. Ole Miss appears to feel really good about Kadeem Sy. I think Ole Miss feels really good about Jamin Brakefield. And then I think they're going to go into the grad transfer market for at least one player. And maybe it'll be a guard, maybe it'll be a post, but I expect transition. I expect openings on this team. I know there's a couple of obvious ones, but I think I won't be shocked if there's one or two more.
Yeah. Continue this conversation in 1 second. Before we do, I'll tell you about Scripted Jewelry. ScriptedJewelry.com is the website. Again, just go check it out. If you haven't done so, today's the day just to see what you have been missing from shopping to sizing guides, lookbooks, frequently asked questions, and more, including the turnaround times that will get your item to you when you need it. Personalize those gifts for the special person in your life. You can put your script on there, your special message, and many more items with excellent jewelry. So again, check it out and save money. Rebels10 in the coupon box, REBELS10 to save 10% with ScriptedJewelry.com.
Podcast also brought to you by Oxford University Bank, OUB, locally owned and operated right there in Oxford. When you deposit money at OUB, that money and the vast majority of the bank's profits go right back into the Oxford community. OUB has a commercial checking account now paying 1% interest as long as you keep $10,000 in the account. Comes with fully interactive online banking. They can also set up any local business to deposit checks from the office and not have to worry about coming to the bank daily to deposit those checks. More than likely, any business owner at another bank is now paying a monthly fee for their account. They are most assuredly not making 1% on their money. To learn more about OUB, check out liveoxfordbankoxford.com or call 662-234-6668. OUB is FDIC insured. Savannah Square is a new 9-acre development, 0.7 of a mile from the Oxford downtown square. It's conveniently located east of North Lamar, just a short stroll from the Midtown Shopping Center, which houses Snack Bar and Jinsei and Track 61. It's also pretty close to Volta and Handy Andy and the Oxford Canteen. Savannah Square will initially consist of 32 standalone detached structures ranging in size from ranging in size from 1,059 square feet to 2,377 square feet. The model home's available for your inspection. It's located at 215 Williams Street. These homes have wonderful layouts and impeccable finishes, which you can inspect. So give Harry a call, Harry Alexander. Give him a call. Take a look at the model. Get more information about this great new development while they're still available. You can view more at savannahsquareoxford.com or give Harry Alexander with RE/MAX Legacy Realty a call or text at 662-801-5621. Podcast also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, that's the place to go. It's just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. They have a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles. Go in, test drive one today. Tell Gene and Sandy that you heard about Grenada Nissan on this podcast, and you'll save Rebel savings on top of the already great deals at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. And we're brought to you by John Edwards of Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. Getting ready for that big summer trip, whether it's to Florida or the Caribbean or Scotland or Napa or wherever it may be. Get in touch with John. He's part of Virtuoso. It's a worldwide network of travel partners that allows John to supply his clients with added values and unique benefits that are simply not available to other travelers. What you do is you give John a call, you give him some parameters, you give him a budget, and let him give you options. And know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net. First-time clients can save $50 off their first booked trip just by telling John you heard about Regency Travel on the podcast.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy. We've been talking about them for a while now. You can transfer that medications over easily. 662-236-2222 to do that. They will take care of the rest. And we've been telling you about them now offering pharmaceutical-grade CBD oil. It's available in multiple different applications, including capsules and topical salves. It's an all-natural product that's maintaining overall health and regulate many conditions such as depression, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and more. Again, to find out about that or just take care of all your pharmaceutical needs, again, that's G&M Pharmacy on South Lamar. They deliver local to your home or workplace. They offer MedSync, and you find out more at 662-236-2222. I see Dari Nokwa this morning tweets 47 minutes ago that Joe Lunardi says today is a play-in game for Alabama, that if they win, they are in. If they lose, they are out against the Wildcats.
Yeah, I can see that. And again, that's a sign of how soft the bubble is.
Mid-majors have no shot.
No, I mean, if you're a Power 5 school, you should be complimenting the net. You should say good things about the net.
Yeah.
So, look, they're a good team. They're very athletic. I mean, I love Dante Hall. I mean, just a terrific player. Kyra Lewis is a very good player. They got nothing out of Herb Jones last night, but Tevin Mack came off the bench, was just terrific for them. 21 points in 28 minutes, and Petty didn't give them much. I mean, Petty got 2 points and a rebound in 13 minutes last night. If you had told Kermit Davis before the game that John Petty would score 2 points and get 1 rebound, he would have been pretty excited. But like Riley Norris got 9 rebounds. That's inexcusable. Just look at the box score. There's just a lot of inexcusable stuff on there. I bet Kermit, his blood pressure went up last night. That would be a tough game as a coach to watch. In a game in that setting, to watch your team do some of the stuff that team did, that had to be very frustrating.
I say that. Really, it's not even the net as I kind of go through this. It's just the fact that the high majors have wins, and that's all anybody cares about is, hey, who have you beaten and who do you have wins against? Because Alabama suddenly is a winner in at 58 in the net. Seton Hall gets talked about all the time at 59. You've got Indiana at 53 that gets talked about. Ohio State's at 55. I mean, you've got a lot of Power Fives that typically would be out of range that suddenly we're discussing them in. And then we're also talking about, like Murray State probably has the win to get in at 45. You've got New Mexico State at 43. You've got a lot of teams on that side from the mid-majors. They're not necessarily getting the same net benefit that the high majors are for whatever reason. And I'm far from a bracketologist, so I don't know why that is. And then also credit to a couple of these small-time programs, or at least smaller programs, that have excellent nets. I'm kind of curious to look at their schedule because you've got Wofford at 13 and you've got Buffalo at 15.
Think Wofford. I'm going to pull up their schedule right now. I think Wofford played a pretty high-level schedule this year.
They're good. They're 26-4. They played North Carolina, lost by 11. They played Oklahoma, lost by 11. They beat South Carolina. They lost to Kansas. They played State, lost by 11. 11's their number. That's about it off the top of my head, just kind of glancing at it. Beat the crap out of Greensboro, who's a pretty good team.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now.
The interesting thing about all those 11-point losses for Wofford is that 10 is the ceiling on margin of victory. So had they cut that a little closer, they actually would have a few more bonus points in there.
And see, what they don't have is any bad losses. They don't have any bad losses.
No. I mean, they have 4 losses on the year, and it's North Carolina, Oklahoma, Kansas, and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. So those teams, so to answer your question, those teams in those kind of leagues have no margin for error inside their league.
As we talk through this, that's the catch. Some of them are losing to a team that's like 180, and that's it. It's over. Yeah.
That's what happened to Kermit's team last year. They lost in the first round in a bad game to like a 200 RPI team. And it was curtains.
Yeah.
Alabama will have its hands full tonight. Let you know. I mean, there were thousands of Kentucky fans in the arena last night, and Kentucky wasn't playing.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
They'll have their hands full.
So, what do we have today, schedule-wise? Pulling it up.
LSU, Florida, Auburn, and South Carolina. Then Alabama and Kentucky, and then Mississippi State, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What'd you say out of Florida, Arkansas yesterday?
Mike White coached Mike Anderson off the floor. Why Arkansas doesn't run its offense through Daniel Gafford is beyond me. Why Arkansas doesn't run any offense is beyond me. They have players. That's bizarre. I was sitting there with Chris Dortch. I don't think he'll mind me saying this. We sat there, watched that game together, and Arkansas has players. They just don't use them. And they've got quality bigs. Jalen Harris is not a particularly great point guard, but he's okay. You got guys like Isaiah Joe and the Sills kid can shoot it. And they've got athletes. It's bizarre. They just got out coached. And then their body language got bad late. Florida was the exact opposite. Their body language was really good the whole game. They just play. Mike does a good job late in seasons. If there were any questions about them making the tournament, they erased it yesterday. Their net's probably 31, 32 right now. They're good. So good for them. They'll give LSU hell today. LSU. I literally maybe the one thing I hate the most about Ole Miss getting eliminated yesterday is that, and I guess I could go over there and watch it, but I'm probably not gonna stay that long. LSU, man, Greg Sankey and Joe Oliva. I assume Oliva's in town, and if he is, Greg Sankey probably would like to strangle him. Can't be happy with Joe Oliva at LSU right now. I'm gonna tell you, this story involving the hospital is a potential bomb. I talked to 2 or 3 people in Baton Rouge. Well, I talked to 3 in Baton Rouge, some of whom are in the media, and one of whom is not, with some knowledge of this. And it's potentially explosive, well beyond the Will Wade, Javonte Smart stuff.
You want to give a quick thesis for people that have not been following this?
Well, so one of the I don't know his title, but one of the head honchos, for lack of a better word, at Our Lady of the Lake Hospital. It's a large hospital there in Baton Rouge. Let me find it. I would be. It's from NOLA.com. Brody Miller wrote this. LSU Athletics was involved in 2 questionable issues in the third-party audit of the Our Lady of the Lake Foundation that former president and CEO John Paul Funes embezzled $810,000 from the foundation. LSU confirmed that it was notified in late 2018 of the 2 findings, reported both to the NCAA. LSU, in a statement, said that it's not believed to be a matter of compliance or an NCAA issue. For one, the other involved hiring a parent of an LSU athlete who was with the school from 2012 to 2015. Funes was fired from the Our Lady of the Lake Foundation November 5th. The foundation released a statement Thursday saying the third-party audit found $810,000 lost due to fraudulent activity. It says that it was in the transactions involved the purchase and distribution of gift cards, which is, I think, a big word here, charter flights and payments to individuals, including forged documents, invoices, and signatures, misled hundreds of people inside and outside of the organization.
Okay.
You can't pass out gift cards to student athletes or to prospective student athletes. That's an NCAA violation every time. $810,000 is a lot of money. And I'm told people in Baton Rouge, I'm looking for the people in Baton Rouge are like any other community. People inside the community gossip. And people that, are kind of connected to U.S. attorneys and such say that when this all comes out, it's going to blow your mind. Says one person says, I'm convinced he's funneling money to LSU athletes and families. Most everyone in Baton Rouge believes that. Says it's only going to get bigger. That's what I've heard too. Said, and I've heard this from multiple people yesterday, that some of the media in Baton Rouge, some of the radio media have begun to really change their tune.
Will Wade comes out with that statement yesterday, basically saying, hey, put me back on the floor. The coach version of, hey, play me or I'm walking. He did that for purposes to show he's trying to coach in a buyout, in my opinion. LSU is not allowing him to coach because they would bring in lack of institutional control should he coach, obviously. Might get it anyway, but nonetheless. I still am a little intrigued, as you were talking about earlier, Oliva, Sankey, the whole deal, on at what point is the breaking point or at what point is necessary to facilitate a permanent decision in this?
I think we're getting there. I think we all know what the permanent decision is going to be. This is all some legal maneuvering. Will Wade's just trying to make sure that he says and does all the things necessary to collect another couple of checks.
He's following the Bruce Pearl playbook to a T, which worked for Pearl. I don't think it's going to work for Wade because there's a wiretap. I mean, yeah, he's just trying to get paid here is all he's doing.
Pearl wasn't recorded.
Yeah. His assistant took the ball.
Yeah, he had layers. And I think ultimately it's going to get Pearl. But he had layers. Wade has no layers, Chase. And then you throw this in, and there are rumblings that he's involved in this too. NCAA is, I wanted to say this yesterday and I forgot it on the board, so I'll say it here. Why is the NCAA not handling this and this and this? They don't have that many people. They work incredibly slowly. They have boots on the ground in Louisiana. So sometime in 2025, they'll get to the end of this. I mean, that's just the way they are. They're dealing with Kansas, and they're dealing with Georgia Tech on a $300 trip to a strip club. They're the most inept organization I've ever seen. And after covering the Ole Miss thing for all those years, they're just inept. They're completely overwhelmed. I can't imagine trying to police intercollegiate athletics. And now people are using hospitals. Hospitals, Chase.
Well, I mean, Neil, we used churches 15 years ago. What's the difference?
I don't know.
I mean, I'm just being honest here. I mean,
I guess the difference is when people think of what money could be directly used to do in a hospital, and same thing at a church. What it could be directly used to do and is designed to do, which is I'm thinking, I don't know, treat sick people. I don't know. But this is going to be an FBI issue, a Secret Service issue, I think. The district, because it involves money.
No, I understand. I'm just.
The district attorney in Baton Rouge turned this over immediately to higher authorities, basically because he knows everybody there. He didn't want to do it. He's got to live there. That's where college athletics are so corrupt that authorities know stuff's going on. They just turn a blind eye, because if you're the guy that does your job, you can't live there anymore.
The issue here is this is going to take forever, as you just said.
Yes.
Forever.
Yes.
It will be forgotten 8 times before it's actually finalized. So.
Well, that is for certain. But there's no getting around it. It's my thing with it's why the Kansas basketball program's under Bill Self's leaving, by the way. The Kansas basketball thing is it's not avoidable. There's proof that they paid players, that they knowingly paid players
because they paid players.
Because they paid players, because they've always paid players. They got caught, and this deal at LSU, this is in the news now. They'll get it. I know everybody goes, nothing will happen. I disagree. I think they'll get hit pretty hard. Gift cards are. Wait till Carly Ann gets older. She's at the toy phase right now. She wants a doll or some toys or whatever the case because she's a little girl. Give her about 10 years. She's going to want a gift card.
Well, I mean, it has a monetary value, and it's easily to be disguised. I mean, it's not rocket science on why people use gift cards.
So you give a kid a $5,000 gift card, $10,000, or a couple of two or three, $10,000 worth of gift cards. Well, now you can't trace what they do with that gift card. They go buy electronics or whatever they want to do.
I'm never shocked at this point ever by how schools or boosters or shoe companies or whoever you want to use funnel money and transfer it. I'm just not. I've been in the world too long, and in some ways I kind of nod at creativity sometimes, just in a sick way. So I'm never shocked by that. I expect it in pretty much every program. The speeding ticket analogy that we use forever with the NCAA is never more apt, because if they really, really wanted to, and I mean really wanted to, you could catch pretty much anyone in any sport and any level. They pick and choose, maybe on who's just being stupid, maybe on selection, I don't know, that's for somebody else to debate. My point being here, I still think, and you mentioned self is why I just thought about this, I still think this is a really, really ugly look if LSU is the school hit and you don't end up hitting a Kansas or a North Carolina or a Kentucky or someone like that's a blue blood. If you allow all those schools to operate as is, you still have a little bit of a credibility problem when you don't hit one of them.
I agree completely.
I mean, it's just, even Arizona, okay, that's fine. They count.
Well, I'll go there. I think Arizona's probably going to get hit. I think Kansas is going to get hit, and I think LSU is going to get mauled.
You think Kansas as an institution ends up getting hit and then self-leaving doesn't just make it go away?
At a minimum.
See, I think self leaves and that gets pushed under the rug.
Self leaves and they get some of the recruiting shut down for a little while.
Oh, bless their hearts. Okay. Podcast brought you. Yeah.
Here's the deal. This is my point. The NCAA is not a law enforcement agency, and the people who work for it are not as smart as the people at the FBI.
Yeah.
And you throw in, whether they really believe it or not, they're charged to believe in this idealism. They have no power, and then you get into the money and the stupidity and the manpower and all that. It took them 6 years to fully adjudicate an Ole Miss case that the worst part of it was completely glossed over, and they allowed it to become a punchline.
I guess my point is the burden of proof, though, is not in a legal capacity either. They don't have to prove anything. They never do.
They'll be able to here.
Yeah. I know, I'm talking about the other stuff.
Yeah,
LSU's bomb, done, peace, whatever.
Well, Kansas they've got proof. It's in a courtroom.
Yeah, we'll see. I just got a hunch Kansas ends up skating. Just a feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe so.
I mean, when you got the situation where we don't think anything's coming out until after the NCAA tournament to make sure that the prized possession doesn't get harmed. Sorry for my skepticism here. I mean, come on. Timing is timing unless it's in March. So, podcast brought to you in part by Blow Dry Bar Oxford, 662-638-3310, 1801 Jackson Avenue, 10 to 6. Normal business hours Tuesday to Friday, 10 to 3 on Saturdays. We told you about yesterday. A lot of guys have been listening to this, not just for the woman in your life. You can go get a men's haircut as well. Call ahead, make an appointment, get that done, and mention rebelgrove.com. They'll cut you a discount, $5 off while you do that as well, so everybody can benefit from there at Blow Dry Bar Oxford. It was the best new business in Oxford for 2018. A lot of different options, including gift cards, for the lady that I mentioned. If you're one of our 4%ers listening, get a treat for yourself as well. So again, 662-638-3310.
The podcast also brought to you by the Westin Jackson. Go to Soul Spa. It's the ultimate luxury spa experience in downtown Jackson. Indulge in personalized massages, signature facials, soothing body treatments, and much more on their extensive spa list. Escape from the everyday and rejuvenate yourself in their luxury spa today, and then gather at Estelle Wine Bar and Bistro. Sip on a creative craft cocktail, enjoy their curated wine list or their fantastic menu. Chef Caden is phenomenal. His mission is to connect guests with the community through local partnerships. So gather at Estelle tonight. My content from last night was sponsored by Pinnacle Trust. Pinnacle Trust, based in Madison, Mississippi, represent clients in 24 states, have advisors in 3 states. Founded in 97, Pinnacle Trust provides detailed, specialized investment management, financial planning, retirement planning for individuals and businesses, and much more. At Pinnacle Trust, investing is treated like a commodity. Decisions are made using objective information and research, not emotions. So regardless of your level of wealth, Pinnacle Trust will sit down with you, listen to your goals, study your expenses, and put forth a comprehensive, detailed financial and retirement plan. Cookie cutter financial plans put you in a box. Pinnacle Trust builds a box just for you. So learn more about Pinnacle Trust, go to pintrust.com. That's PINN trust.com. Mention you heard about Pinnacle Trust on the podcast, and you'll get 10% off your first year's fee. We've been telling you warm weather. It's on the horizon. With it comes the inevitable debate of sock or no sock with your loafers. Save your feet and your shoes from making their own impression. Step into spring with some no-shows from Dead Soxy. You really need to experience the difference a quality sock makes. It's the first step in dressing for the job you want, not the job you have. So go to deadsoxy.com, enter the code Rebel Grove at checkout, receive 30% off all orders, including sale items. These no-shows are the same quality you already love and enjoy with the Dead Soxy traditional dress sock, and they come with the no-slip guarantee. So go to deadsoxy.com, check out their no-show collection, and remember to enter promo code Rebel Grove at checkout for 30% off all orders.
Podcast is brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, Soto County, and Chattanooga. All underwriting and processing is done in Memphis. You're getting local underwriting that understands your market, a leader in condo financing and the float down option. So you can lock in the current rate, but if rates go down before you close, you get that lower rate. 662-234-2704 or JLOWE at communitymtg.com. And I guess never mind, we got Dennis Dodge report about Kansas getting investigated for basketball and football, so they'll be so mad at Bill Self, they'll just pop Kansas football and do it that way. Also, David Beatty is suing the school for $3 million. So good stuff going on with the Jayhawks right now.
And then this Georgia Tech case, this is where I'm different than everybody else. I'm not even all that bothered. Are you bothered at all by the fact that they took Wendell Carter Jr. to the Cheetah Club in Atlanta?
Is that what it was?
That's one of them. Jarrett Jack was the player. They took Wendell Carter Jr. to the Cheetah Club. Both of those guys are in the NBA making a bunch of money. Gave him $300, I presume, to use on services
extracurricular activities.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I mean, whatever. I don't know.
I mean, I just assumed that Georgia Tech took all of their prospective student athletes to the Cheetah Club.
I mean, as long as it's within like the 90-mile radius or whatever for the visits, isn't that what popped Ole Miss back in the day? Like it was outside the jurisdiction. So as long as it's as long as it's local, what's the problem, right?
I mean, I'm just not bothered by that.
Yeah.
Now they got a lot of problems with this. What's the Bell? I can't think of his first name.
Rodney.
He's Josh Pastner's been his runner for years. He was the guy that did all of his dirty stuff at Memphis. So he went with him to Georgia Tech and did his dirty stuff there.
That's kind of rude, Neil. And I feel like when you use the word runner, that has a negative connotation. I don't like you using that word.
Let me use a different word. His fixer.
Okay. Slash, as we've used in the past, right?
Yeah, runner / fixer.
Yeah.
He just happens to be his best friend.
Cohort, friend, compatriot.
Yeah, give me a break.
Okay. Oh gosh, you can read some detail about this at rebelgrove.com today. I did a little deep dive, and I didn't know what I was going to find. So, Ole Miss and Alabama tonight, 6:30, kicking off that series in Oxford. Will Etheridge on the mound for the Rebels. The rest of the rotation is Zach Phillips and Gunnar Hoagland, as typical has been the rest of the season, other than Etheridge's blister week. For Alabama, they're going with Sam Finnerty. He is a senior right-hander. They're going with a junior right-hander, Brock Love, tomorrow. And then junior right-handed Will Freeman on Sunday. Bold choice for the Crimson Tide, throwing 3 right-handers and no left-handers against the Rebels. All 3 of them with really, really good ERAs. However, the Tide at 16-2 hasn't really played much of anybody. They have losses to Presbyterian and Ball State. And their most impressive weekend to date is a 3-game sweep at South Owl. So that's kind of Alabama. But point being, so here's what I found interesting. I did a little deep dive into just first inning issues for Ole Miss, because I guess I knew what I was getting myself into, but in my mind at the time, I kind of had a little different connotation with it. I kind of thought I'd get something different. So in the middle of the Wednesday game is when I asked for mailbag questions for the week. And let's say the answers to those the questions were a little emotional. A lot of bickering. I think Louisville was ahead like 10-3 at the time or something. And a lot of them were not usable. However, what I did do was I took one asking about Gray Kessinger leading off, and I kind of looked through the numbers a little bit. Here's what I found. I did find this interesting. So 17 games for the Rebels. 16 of those games, Gray Kessinger has led off the game. And the biggest news here is just that he's slumping. I don't know whether the ankle's 100% or not. Nobody's complained about it. Nobody's using an excuse. It's just kind of a question that lingers in my head. But in 16 games, he started the game. So those 16 at-bats in the first inning, he has 4 hits. He's reached base 4 of 16 times. He has no walks. He has 1 K. But here's what's interesting. So he started the year, through the first 9 of those, he had 1 hit, and on 7 of, let me find the numbers to be sure here. I don't want to have this wrong. Here we go. So in the first 9 games of the season, Kessinger reached base once in his first at-bat and saw 2 or fewer pitches in 7 of those 9 at-bats. Had 1 5-pitch at-bat, 1 4-pitch at-bat, but 7 of the 9 at-bats to start the game, he got out 8 of those 9 times, and 7 of those 9 times only saw 2 or fewer pitches. So just bang, bang, out, out, out. However, in the last 7 games, when he's hit first, he's 3 for 7, has 3 hits, and he's seen at least 5 pitches in 6 of those 7 plate appearances. He's had 2 full counts, and he had 1 4-pitch strikeout. But 6 of those 7, all of a sudden, 5 pitches or more. And I'll ask him. I don't know the answer to this. I haven't talked to Gray in a couple weeks. It's a really, really small sample size, so I don't know if it's a coincidence or what. But, I mean, there is a splice point there that shows not only is he getting a little hotter, is he playing a little better, but he's also seeing more pitches. And, I mean, while it could absolutely just be by accident, it is odd that there's such a clear line of demarcation between the two there.
So what do you think? If you're managing the team, what do you do?
I'll tell you, after looking at those stats, I had been forever on, hey, throw Servideo there, do that. And so he did that the first game at Louisville. Servideo was 0 for 5. Kessinger was 0 for 4 with a walk hitting from the 2 spot. I think I might let Gray try to hit his way out of it if he's 100% healthy. And that's a question that I don't know the answer to, and frankly, I'm not sure we would know the answer because I think everybody would say he's fine even if he wasn't. Credit to them, I guess, in a lot of ways for not using it. I think I might leave him, given that recent dynamic of 3 for 7. Because look, the leadoff hitter only matters in the first inning. I mean, I know a lot of the guys out there are. I know that with analytics and sabermetrics being the new thing to be into, I'm just not the guy that stresses over every single spot in the lineup. I'm just not. I'm not going to be that dude. I don't think it matters as much as people act like it matters.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I mean, so the only thing is you've got him hitting with more at-bats than anyone else, which I get. But if he gets closer to what his career has told you, which is that he's a 300 hitter with an OPS somewhere between 850 and 900, that's fine. And if you're going to move him, it's got to be all about on-base percentage for me. And I know that's a little old school, but my reason being, he's gotten on base 4 times this season in the first inning. 3 of those times he scored, and the other time he got to third base and then got thrown out on a fielder's choice. So he is moving around. The guys behind him are moving him. So you don't really necessarily want to destabilize anything you're doing 2, 3, 4 behind him. It's just a matter of making sure that whoever can lead off the game gets on base as many times as possible, as dumb as that sounds and as duh as that sounds. That's sort of the deal here, and he's done it 3 of the last 7. And the only thing that I wonder a little bit, and again, small sample sizes. He led off all last year and hit 300, so it's not like he hasn't done this before and been successful with it. But in the at-bats where he's not leading off the game, take all the other at-bats. His on-base percentage is higher than his career on-base percentage in those other at-bats. All of his extra base hits have come from those at-bats, and he's walked 11 times in those at-bats. So there is something to be said for just complete productivity in the at-bats that he is not leading off the game. What does that mean? I don't know. That's for somebody else. That's for Mike Bianco that makes a lot more money than I do to figure it out. But nonetheless, I am starting to see some interesting samples here with him that suggests that not pulling the trigger and moving him early could have been the right move. I just have a hard time believing that early in the season it's swing, swing, swing as fast as possible. And then now you're getting 2-2 almost every single time, and there's not at least some by design to that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're probably right. I'm a believer in this as it pertains to baseball and hitting. Hitters hit, which I know sounds basic. I don't think lineup necessarily really matters. I like hitting my best hitters as close to the top as possible. I don't
2
like
and
that
3
tradition.
is where I'd like to hit my best hitters.
Yes. And then I'm a big believer in teams not giving away at-bats. Don't give away at-bats. Grind an at-bat. I do believe in a two-strike approach. But I don't like ultra-conservative approaches where you take a fastball right away. If that's the best pitch you get in the at-bat, attack that pitch. I think good hitters do that. I don't know.
I think there's some transference of blame here a little bit in Ole Miss's first inning issues. I wrote about this too this morning. I think everybody focuses on Gray because A, he's slumping. He's not playing as well as he's capable of playing. He's below what he did last year. B, I think that it's so much easier in a lot of ways to talk about offense. You know what I mean? Like, if a lot of stuff happens in a game, the offense is always the story of the game, or the hit's always the story of the game. Everybody just understands offense so much more. But a lot of Ole Miss's first inning issues have to do with the pitching has been bad. I mean, I ran these numbers, and they are eye-popping to me at least. So Ole Miss has allowed 20 first inning runs this season in 17 games, okay? Opponents have scored in 9 of the 17 games in the first inning, and 20 total runs have been scored. So, again, let me repeat that. 20 first-inning runs have been scored against Ole Miss this season in 17 games, okay?
Yeah.
Last season in 65 games, opponents scored 27 total runs. Huge difference.
Well, the psychological thing of giving up runs in the first inning all the time is that you start playing from behind, which it shouldn't, but it does.
You're accumulating pitch counts. Will Etheridge, over 2 starts at home, threw 30 extra pitches because his team made errors behind him.
Yeah, and those get into your bullpen. It's
a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, and it affects you mentally when you're playing from behind. You press a little bit at the plate. You don't mean to, but you do.
It's probably affected them in the field. Ole Miss, again, they had 6 errors on the season coming into the UAB series. In the last 5 games, they committed 7 errors in the first innings. Just in the first innings, 7 errors. So, I mean, running some math, they had 6 errors in like 100 innings, and now they've had 7 in, 5.
Not to beat up on one person, but what's the issue with all of Zabowski's errors?
Oh, I think some rushing as much as anything. I think a lot of it is kind of, trying to hurry to a spot. I mean, was it John Wooden that said "be quick but don't hurry"? Wasn't that his thing? I just think that some UAB speed kind of rattled him. It's not even necessarily mental miscues. It's just sort of maybe he's out of position by a step here or a step there, and it's just it's just kind of spiraled. I mean, he picks the baseball really well at first base. He's a huge target, but he's really struggled kind of getting off the bag so far this year. And that's something that's frankly kind of plagued him for a lot of his career. It's just sort of who he is, not to this level from an error standpoint. I mean, he was first-team All-SEC defense last year, but a lot of that has to do with his work at the bag, catching the baseball more than necessarily fielding his position. So I still think it's a blip. I'm not going to focus on a 5-game sample size as some huge issue. I'm just not. But yeah, it's got to be better. I mean, that's the thing I asked Mike that day, and he gave a pretty good quote. Was, are you more concerned or more okay the fact that all these errors are coming from guys that are, frankly, really proven and known to be capable defenders? I mean, you look at the errors that have been made. Almost all of them are in the infield, and I think maybe every error that's been made is by Kessinger, Savidio, Dillard, and Zabowski. 4 juniors that have played a ton of baseball. So until it stretches out farther than it has, I think you just kind of chalk it up and move on and hope it goes away after a rough week.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where we're probably being a little repetitive. It's certainly possible that this is a blip. It's possible this is just a bad stretch.
Look, everything will be forgiven if they end up 3-0 on Sunday. Everything will be forgiven.
Sure, because if you had offered Mike Bianco 3-2 this week, he'd have hated it. But he'd
like to know where those 2 are coming from. He wouldn't have wanted to sweep Louisville and then lose 2 or 3 to Bama.
That's what I'm saying. If you had told him you get to pick the 3 wins, he would have said, "Well, give me the 3 SEC wins."
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's what I'm saying.
Because at this point, there are 2 records, and the one that matters more is the second one we're going to always mention.
Yes. I've said that for years. I mean,
the overall record's all well and good, and you do need it to be competent to a certain extent. We've talked about that with the whole 20-win thing. But at the end of the day, if you told me, hey, one's kind of mediocre and one's great, hey, let's make the SEC record pretty good, and we'll deal with the consequences.
Yeah. I mean, you go look, I don't think anybody's doing it, but if you go 19-11 in the league, for example, they're not going to give a damn that you lost a couple of games at Louisville.
Yeah, that 20-win mark suddenly doesn't matter quite as much.
Yeah, so I don't know. I've said this, and you've said this for a little while, and so we're at that point. Starts tonight. I think there's a certain degree of take a step back, chill out, and see what happens in these first 6 SEC games, and then look at the number, and then I think at that point you can start making probably some better judgments.
Yeah, I think.
And they got to go to Fayetteville, and they get into April, and I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. You know what I mean? I mean, if they are a flawed team, if this is not a blip, well, we're going to see it because they play the kind of teams that are absolutely going to expose it. And if it is a blip, we'll see that too because they're going to have to beat good teams.
Podcast brought to you in part by Mastercuts Lawn and Landscape, mastercutslawn.com, 662-607-7773. You can get a free quote also by emailing them at info@gomastercuts.com. Get those contracts signed now before it warms up and stays warm to get your basic maintenance taken care of for the entire year, from mowing to edging to weed eating, and then they'll handle other special projects as well, from landscaping and building structures to your flower beds. So again, you can get a free quote by giving them a call at 662-607-7773.
Guest join us on the Patterson Earhart hotline. Patterson and Earhart, attorneys at law. They specialize in personal injury law and real estate law, employment law, labor law, that kind of thing. If you have any legal need, you need to get in touch with them. When you call them, you speak to one of them directly. That's who handles your case, not a paralegal at a faceless corporate firm. John, Calvin Patterson, and Wes Earhart are Ole Miss guys. They're local guys. And when you call them, you get one of them on the phone within the same day, guaranteed. It's whether you've been injured in a car wreck or you just think you might have a legal issue, give them a call. That consultation's free, 662-526-1992, or check out their website, pelaws.com.
So, SEC schedule for the weekend, Missouri is at Arkansas. I mean, I think the entire schedule is going to be tough for Missouri, but just looking at that opening with at Arkansas and then Ole Miss at home, that is rough. Tennessee at Auburn. That's an interesting series. Auburn throwing it about as well as anybody on the weekend with Burns and then what's behind him. Tennessee has been red hot to start the season. They've sort of been one of the surprises to this point. Kentucky at LSU. That's a critical series for LSU because the rotation's been crap for most of the preseason. How do they fare now once league play gets here against the Wildcats, who are sort of middle of the road projected team in the SEC? Georgia at South Carolina. Frankly, Georgia is the better team, maybe the better program right now as those two teams meet in Columbia. Vanderbilt at A&M is kind of interesting this weekend in College Station, the number one Commodores. And then your SEC series of the week, because of how well the Bulldogs have been in the preseason, they've really, really pitched it with Ethan Small and JT Ginn, the Mississippi native who was taken in the first round by the Dodgers. They are at the Florida Gators this weekend in Gainesville. So your week in the SEC, Ole Miss and Alabama, obviously coverage at rebelgrove.com for that one. I believe they are opening the selection thing up to the media Sunday. Neil, is that correct?
You know what? I don't know. Supposedly they sent something out, but I didn't get it, or I accidentally deleted it. I'll ask, but yeah, I think they're certainly going to celebrate it. They'll want media to see them celebrate it. It's an accomplishment. This team making the tournament's an accomplishment, and they'll celebrate it, and they should. So yeah, I someone said something about. God, I hate to do this because I was overhearing conversations last night and I was trying to write. I heard the word block party, but I don't really know what that means. Maybe they meant after the baseball game. I don't know.
Because it will happen right when the baseball game's ending almost.
Yeah, because the show starts at 5, I think.
And baseball's at 1:30.
Yeah.
So it could run right up against it.
Absolutely.
Probably will, honestly.
So anyway, they're going to get in. And I hate to tell people how to feel. If you're an Ole Miss fan, I think you should be excited right now. Not about this tournament, just making this tournament's an accomplishment. But they've got a lot going for them right now in recruiting. They're recruiting some really good players. They've got a real shot at Kadeem Sy, a real shot at Jamin Brakefield. I mean, real shots. And the environment out there is conducive to programs like Ole Miss breaking through on some of these kids.
Yeah.
Read into that what you want. And making the tournament is a very positive thing with those kids. It shows those kids. It lets Kermit Davis say, without being insulting of the kids, it lets him say, if you give me enough good players, we can take it another level. And he now has, or on Sunday, he's going to have some empirical data to back that up.
All right. Coverage at rebelgrove.com. Again, basketball on Sunday with it being Selection Sunday, baseball all weekend, and then spring football kicking back up next week. So we'll have all that, more podcast as next week gets here too. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us throughout the week, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.